Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Shot Science Overtime number 137. Uh, Looks like today it's just going to be me, my dad, Coach Tom. He's not going to be here. He's away at a basketball camp. So hopefully you guys can get enough out of me today. But this is our live show that we try to do most every Sunday. Meet with you guys 1 p.m. Pacific time, talk to you about some topic that we think is going to help you become a better basketball player. It's going to help you develop your game, take your game to the next level. And so we talk about that topic off the top of the show. And while we're doing that, you guys are sending us your questions in the chat or on YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter, whatever it is. Send those questions our way, and we will do our best to help you answer those questions and maybe clear some things up if you were wondering how to shoot better or how to dribble better or how to beat that guy or this guy or whatever it is. We will do our best to try to help you. So while I'm talking about this topic, you guys send your questions in. I'll try to get to as many people as I possibly can. If you could go out there and tell people to watch the show, that would be awesome. And let's have some fun talking about basketball. All right. So today's topic is beating an aggressive defender. That's one of those things that you see people struggle with. That they feel like if somebody is kind of playing them tight or is up in their face or is taking away their ability to drive or whatever it is, that's the time to panic because they don't know what to do. And that's really the worst thing that you can do is panic in that situation. So what are some ways that you can turn that situation around and be able to take the advantage back, take control, and hopefully get past that guy and get to the basket? Or do some other things that might help you in the long run from stopping people from playing you that way. So the first thing that I would say is that if somebody's playing you super tight like that, you need to take a deep breath and not freak out, because that's the worst thing you can do. But if somebody is crowding you like that, and if my dad was here, he would tell you the first thing to do is go. So if somebody is playing you tight like that, you can't just sit there and wait for something to happen. You are in trouble if you do that. But if you just go on that guy, you will be in a much better position to take back the advantage. Because in reality, that guy has to react to you. So, if you're just standing there waiting for something to happen, then that makes his job easy. But if you do something, that's something he has to react to, and he's already a step behind because he has to react to whatever you're doing. And so when we talk about going on somebody, that means that as soon as they get up in your face, you immediately take that first step towards the rim or past that person's foot, going shoulder to shoulder with them, hip to hip, and you force them to react. And it's super easy to say that out loud and just say, you got to go on that guy. But the reality is you have to just go. Take that first step, push past them. And if they're playing you super tight, they're going to have a hard time keeping up with you because, if you take that first step, you're suddenly that much further away from where they are and they have to play catch up. That's why, sometimes they'll give you a look like a defender will play off of you a little bit. They'll kind of give you that cushion because they're trying to give you space so that they can react to whatever you're doing. So if they're playing up tight, that's a risk that they're taking. And what you do is you call their bluff on that thing and you just go right by them and you go to the basket. So what have we learned about the first option? And that is, if they are playing you tight, you go. You don't wait. You don't sit around. You don't panic. You don't look for a teammate to pass it to. If they are guarding you that close, you have the advantage. So don't forget that. You only give that back to them. You give back the advantage if you sit there and wait for something to happen or you panic or whatever. So take the initiative and just go on that person. Okay. So the next part of this is kind of like a grander scheme, let's say. And that is that you should try to develop your game so that people can't play you that way. When we look at players, we try to tell them to always try to develop their ability so that they are an all-around threat. Because if you are only good at certain things, people will try to take those away from you and then exploit your weaknesses. So, if you have a weak offhand, people will take away your strong hand and force you to go to that weak hand. Or if you can't shoot, they'll let you shoot. They'll play off of you. If you can shoot and you can't drive, then they're gonna play up in your face, and take away your shot because you can't drive on them. So the grander scheme of all of that stuff is that you need to take your practice and your development of all of your skills and really amp those up, make it comprehensive so that you are actually addressing everything. You should not just be a one-trick pony. You need to be able to shoot. You need to be able to pass. You need to be able to attack the basket off the dribble. You need to be able to play defense. You need to be just all around well-rounded. And if you're able to do that, you're going to be in good shape. And where this comes into play in specifically stopping people from playing you aggressively, like up in your face, is that if you are able to both shoot and attack the basket, they have to really hedge their bets when they come up and they are trying to defend you. Because if they overplay you and they get up tight on you, they'll do what I just told you to do. That's what you'll do what I just told you to do, and that is you'll immediately go on them because you can attack them off the dribble, and they're gonna have to play catch up on you, and they're in a bad spot there. If they play off of you and let you shoot, you know how to shoot. You can make that shot, and they're pretty much giving it to you. So they have to kind of find a middle ground, and when they do that, they're not effectively taking away one or the other. So you are in a much better spot. And you can use things like these offensive tools that we talk about all the time, things like the jab step, the shot fake, the long 1-and-1, all of these tools that will help you get past those guys or test the waters, make them bite on something, and then go on them after they commit to trying to play whatever that was that you were trying to get them to go on. So the grand scheme is that you should really develop your all-around game, because that takes away their ability to play you super tough like that. And, that's one of the things that coaches from other teams will do, is that they'll identify the weaknesses of guys or girls that are playing basketball and haven't developed a certain set of skills. So, I know many times when I was playing that in high school, our coaches would, identify a player that could not go to their left hand. And so it was specifically, told to the person that was defending them, take away their strong hand. And that would happen. Or, that guy seriously cannot shoot outside of 10 feet. So, don't worry about pressuring his shot when he steps outside of that range. And, if you are a player that's able to step in there and play all around, then you're in a much better spot yourself. And that coach can't tell the person that's defending you to do those things, take away this, take away that, because you're able to counteract any of that stuff. So you really have to have this worldly view on developing your skills. If you are one of those people that just wants to sit there and shoot threes, or you're one of those people that just wants to develop your ability to be a point guard or a fill-in-the-blank position there, that's kind of a bummer approach, because you're pigeonholing yourself, and you're not developing your full set of skills. And the thing is that a point guard can step into the post and they can post up. A point guard can shoot from the perimeter. A point guard doesn't have to pass every time. A point guard can score. A point guard can rebound, as well as a post player can go out and shoot deeper range. They can take people off the dribble. They can play face-up basketball. They should be able to hit free throws. These are things that make you a better player, and it doesn't hurt you to be a point guard that can post up. And it doesn't hurt you to be a post player that can take the ball outside and stretch out the floor. I mean, it just makes no sense to focus on just being a specific player that I only shoot, or I only am a point guard, or whatever it is. So clear that from your mind. You should really focus on being a great basketball player, all-around basketball player that can shoot, pass, dribble, attack, play defense, make free throws, be a good teammate, be a leader, and just be all around able. That's really the key, because if you just want to sit around and have the defense or the other team take advantage of you, then don't work on some specific skill, and they will take advantage of you. But if you're a point guard that can go in the post, and maybe you're a little bit taller than the guy that's guarding you, that gives you an advantage, and maybe that's something that you and your coach can exploit. If it, That doesn't even have to be the case. Sometimes being the smaller guy will make you more agile, more quick, and maybe you'll have a big, tall guy on you, and you can take him off of a spin move or a drop step or something like that. I don't know, but you have to look at it as the more tools that you have in your toolkit, the more effective you will be as a basketball player, no matter where you are on the court. Okay? So when you guys are thinking about, or maybe you experience that you're playing and the person that's guarding you is just all over you. Well, partially that's kind of your problem to fix outside of that game. And you can do like what I was saying before, which is take them off the dribble. And that works really well if you're able to do that. But if you are able to do all these things that you've worked on in practice outside of playing in this actual game, then you will be in a much better spot to where they can't play you like that. And if they do, you'll make them sorry for doing it. And that's kind of the bottom line. So that's kind of our thoughts. And if my dad was here, he would tell you the same exact thing. You really have to be a well-rounded player that's able to take advantage of the other team. And if you aren't, and you sit back and wait, or you panic, you're feeding into exactly what they want you to do. So be confident in your skills after you've developed them as well as you possibly can, and you will be in a much better spot. Okay, so I'm going to stop that topic right there. And if you guys have more questions about it, just let me know and we'll jump back into it. But I just want to make sure that that you have the power to kind of change the way that teams play against you. It's not really something where you have to sit back and let that stuff happen. You can be an active participant in kind of the way that you are played against. So keep that in mind. So hopefully you guys have been sending me questions while we've been talking about that and going out and telling your friends and family to check it out. Like I said earlier, my dad's away at a basketball camp right now, so it's just me today. But I will do my best to answer as many questions as I possibly can. So send those questions in, and we'll do as much as we can in this next about 45 minutes or so. So let's jump into questions. Imran Shahid says, "What if there's no space to dribble?" Well, I mean that's how much can they take away from you is really the question I would ask on that. I don't think there's ever been a situation where you can't make some kind of move on somebody if they're playing up on you. They can't play you and completely encircle you. If they are, that's probably a different situation where maybe you're getting double teamed or something like that, or they just close something off with more than one player. That's a different situation. But if it's just one guy, you should be able to go to the side where they aren't, or even just taking that one long step, pushing the ball out and trying to get away from that person. That's a fair thing to do. But you should never have no space to dribble unless you got yourself into a position where you're getting trapped, double teamed, or you got yourself in the corner or up against the half court line. Those are things that we would say are a mistake that you should avoid no matter what, is stay away from those lines, stay away from the corners. And if you see a double team coming at you or a trap coming at you, you have to do several things that we've talked about on other live shows, where essentially what you can do in the best situation there is pick one of those guys and go directly at them and try to do some kind of dribble attack against that one person, because then the other guy is trying to catch up and you're not sitting there waiting for two guys, and you're also not taking on two guys at one time. Take on that one guy and make a move. And also that means that probably one of your teammates is open, and so drop the ball off to your teammate. And then you follow up with saying, without the ball being stolen. Hey, that's not really something that I can tell you how to effectively do that. And you need to develop all of these offensive tools that we talk about every week, and we have them on our YouTube channel in various playlists. But you have to protect the ball. You got to keep yourself between the defender and the ball itself. You got to take effective footwork along the way, where maybe you're doing the long 1-on-1 or you're sealing off of their hip. There's a lot of things that you can do. You don't want to hold the ball out there for them to just take it. So check out some of those videos on our channel and then really work on protecting the basketball. George Bravo asks, how do you lock someone up if they can shoot, drive, and pass? Well, I mean, that's what we talked about a little bit earlier, is that you want to be the guy that can do all of those things, because you make it difficult for anybody that's defending you to really take on that task. And so to be able to play against somebody like that, that's a situation where we always tell players to just don't let that person get the ball in the first place. And so, you're playing their passing lane real tight. You're making it difficult for their teammates to give them the ball. And, if you're able to play tight defense that is making it difficult for them to even get the ball, then you don't have to worry about those things that they're capable of doing. Where that gets tough is when they actually know how to move without the ball and create space. But all you can do is do your best to deny them the ball, be in the passing lanes, and if they do catch the ball, then you just have to kind of hedge your bets a little bit, like I was saying before, and you can't play them too tight, and you can't play off of them, because, if you play them too tight, they're going to go by you. If you play off of them, they're just going to shoot over you. So you have to really stay in front of them, have that kind of spacing where maybe I can't tell you exactly, because we're all different in our abilities to react, but, an arm's length, maybe a little bit more off of them, and beat them to the spot. If they attack on the drive, beat them there and anticipate where they're going and beat them. Establish your position. Sometimes they'll run right into you. You'll get a charge. If they take a shot, don't try to jump up and block it, but definitely contest it so that you make it a difficult shot. If you do that, a lot of times that is all it takes to make the shooting percentage of whoever this shooter is drop off precipitously, because they have a hand in their face, the pressure's there. But if you jump up and try to block that guy every single time, chances are you'll foul him, or it'll just be a situation where you get yourself in trouble. Maybe they give you a shot fake and you jump up in the air, and then they just drive by you anyway. So you gotta play smart. You have to take risk, but also cover your bases so that they can't take advantage of you by shooting over you or driving past you. You have to get experience knowing how to approach that kind of look. But good question. Sane de Chamling says, how do you improve your vision as a point guard? Well, like I said, forget about these positions that you're always thinking about. Positions are not important. Positions are exactly appointed by your coach. And so if you're able to play anywhere and you have the abilities to play at any spot on the floor, you are a much better basketball player. That will help you. After they say you're the point guard, that might be a different situation. But again, position is not important. But improving your vision is something that people struggle with. But you have to learn to keep your head up, learn to have vision that isn't necessarily focused on any one point. A lot of it is kind of having this well-developed peripheral vision where you kind of have a soft focus on everything. You can see what this guy over here is doing. You can see what that guy over there is doing. You can see that your teammate's open down there, but it's not like you're focusing, oh, my teammate's open there, down there. That's all I'm focusing on, because then you might not see that the defender that's guarding this guy up here is falling down and fading into to pick off that pass that you're about to throw to that guy. So it's really about keeping your head up, having that soft focus, and working on getting experience, seeing things unravel. And a lot of that too is being relaxed when you're out on the basketball court, and just kind of seeing what's going on. But I mean, you can see all the drills that people do to help develop that, and it's not. I don't know how necessarily well those things work, where hold up a card or hold up numbers. Really, it is about keeping your head up and having that soft focus and getting experience doing that. And if you're able to do that, then you'll be able to see all the opportunities that come to you. So really work on keeping your head up, seeing what's going on, and you'll be in a good spot. Let's see. George Bravo asks, "How can you make your coach notice you more?" Well, that's something that we get asked all the time, and a lot of times people think that it's just by these skills that you can exhibit, or that you can put together this mixtape of your abilities. That is not really all that coaches look at, really, at all. I mean, that's great, but the reason that you show up and play is because you probably have some skills that you've developed. What lots of players don't have very well developed are these kind of qualities that make them a better teammate, that make them a better support system for the coach. They're kind of the qualities that are things that you don't necessarily have to sit there and develop or work on like you would skills, but they're things that you can flip mentally that are probably already inside of you. And we talk about those things in our how to make the team video, and every single one of those points is really a great way to endear yourself to coaches, because like I said, everybody shows up and they're going to have some level of skills when they are a basketball player. That's great, but what's going to differentiate you? I would say, and if my dad was here, he would tell you the exact same thing, and it's all stuff in that video, how to make the team. But it's things like showing leadership. And if you're able to be kind of a champion of your teammates and be able to help them and not direct them like a coach would, but kind of just be a positive source of kind of confirmations and affirmations and things like that. That's always wonderful. Be the guy that is helping the coach's job easier. That's kind of what the leadership role is. Make the coach's job easier. Maybe you're the first person to get in line for the drill when the coach says to get there. Maybe you're there before practice and kind of organizing maybe some shooting drills. Maybe you are collecting all the basketballs when the coach blows the whistle. Whatever it is, those are kind of leadership qualities, because people see that and then they're like, oh, I should be doing that. And you're just kind of cueing this kind of behavior that is beneficial to the team and to the coach. Coaches love that stuff. Some other things that are really great for coaches to see are showing initiative. So like I said, if all the basketballs are strewn all over the gym, maybe go pick those things up and collect them before the coach has to ask you. That's taking initiative. And that's a huge deal for a coach when they don't have to tell everybody every time go pick up the basketballs. Or maybe you, like I said, organize like a shooting drill. Maybe you have guys work on their free throws before practice. Maybe there's so many things that you could do that show that you are taking initiative and doing things and anticipating what maybe the coach is going to ask you to do, or doing these positive things that coaches will approve of. So do that stuff. Some other things are showing effort. So the guys that are diving on the floor for basketballs, the guys that are taking charges, playing tough defense, running back on the break in transition. I mean, those are the type of things that coaches look at and they want that guy on the team. And it doesn't matter if he's not the best player. It doesn't matter if he or she is maybe not as athletic, whatever. The people that are able to show that kind of effort, it bleeds on into the rest of the team. So if there's a guy that's taking a charge, or there's a guy that's diving for the ball, that's going to amp everybody up, and that's going to probably make everybody want to do that kind of stuff. And that will just make the team better. So coaches love that kind of thing. So those are just some of the qualities. If you want to see all of them, go check out the How to Make the Team video. And that's really the stuff that coaches look for. Okay. Let's see. Joe SD says, I keep changing my form. How do I keep the same shooting form? Well, I mean, that's if you keep changing your form, I would ask you, like, why are you changing your form? Are you addressing issues that you have in your form, or are you just changing them to change them? That's probably not the best approach. But for us, what we always want to preach to people is that there are these fundamentals of shooting a basketball that you need to have in place, and make sure that they are kind of the touchstones of how you approach your shooting, so that when things start to degrade in your shooting mechanics, that you can address them and get back to those fundamentals. And the fundamentals are there pretty much for everybody, but everybody's different and everybody's body is different, and so these fundamentals might evolve a little bit over time, or you might have a slightly different biomechanics than somebody else. And that's why we think it's not a good thing to try to emulate other players. So somebody might love Steph Curry shooting or Kevin Durant shooting, or whoever it is, but the fact of the matter is that you don't have that person's body. Even if you were standing next to Stephen Curry and you're the same height, same kind of build, that doesn't mean that you have the same biomechanics as him. You might have longer arms, you might have some kind of different flexibility, you might have some different kind of musculature. I mean, that's stuff that you have no control of, to be able to emulate exactly the way that somebody else is, and you shouldn't, because you are you, and you only get your body. So you need to start with these fundamentals and then kind of build into them your own mechanics, and that's fine. And so I would say to you, Joe, look at our videos on our channel and see these fundamentals. And it's going to be stuff like footwork, which is super important. Connectivity, so connecting from the feet to the follow through, making it a smooth shot with no hitches. And then really work on developing your finish and your follow through, and making sure you are getting proper arc and finish on your shot off of your shooting fingers. I mean, those are the things that are super important, and par everything way back. Sometimes people try to force their shooting mechanics, and they see, oh, that's how Steph Curry shoots it, I'm going to just go out and start shooting like that. That's not a good approach. You need to break everything way down and start super slow. Break down the footwork and start working on that stuff, and then start adding in kind of these other elements, like getting to the set point and then extending up on the shot, and use something like the form shooting drill to really kind of develop that stuff, and start off slow and then start to amp it up, and then you get up to game speed, game intensity, and you'll have everything in place, and it'll feel comfortable. You'll have built up the strength and the power. You'll have built up the muscle memory, and you will be in a much better spot than somebody that just tried to force it to happen. Slow everything down, break it down, and then slowly progress up. That's really the way to make all this stuff happen. Okay? Let's see here. KL Saunier says, in the NBA and high school, does shooting matter? Shooting matters everywhere you are. If you're a better shooter, you're a better basketball player. So, I mean, you can see it in the NBA. I think there was a period of time there where people were thinking, oh, that nobody in the NBA does anything but dunk or shoot these close shots. But, I mean, look at who's dominating the league right now. It's not a team that just sits there and shoots the 3-footers. And if you, like I said earlier, if you're a player that has the ability to shoot from outside and you can hit that shot, then they have to respect you and try to take that away from you. Which then, if you have the ability to take those guys off the dribble, then they have to take that into account. So you make your life easier, because they can't play you too tight, they can't play you too off. So they have to kind of play a middle ground where you will have much more options. So yes, shooting is important no matter what level of basketball you are. Robert Stark is saying, I can touch the rim and I'm 5'11", and I can touch the rim. My friend is 5'9". He's more muscular and athletic. It seems like I can never catch up to his jumping. Okay. Well, here's the thing, is that, like I said before, everybody's different. Everybody has different biomechanics and physiology. And so you can't really say, oh, here's this guy that is 5'9", and he can get so much higher than me, and I don't understand why I can't. I think that what you should really do is set some goals, some realistic goals that you can do, working towards maybe a greater goal. So maybe your goal is to increase your vertical to the point where you can dunk, which, if you're asking me, that's not really super important. I think it's overemphasized in basketball. It's like even guys that are able to dunk in high school and stuff, most of the time they are not getting that shot. And so it's not something you should spend an inordinate amount of time on trying to develop. But if you want to increase your overall athleticism, which also involves your vertical jump, then I would say find a program and really apply yourself to it and set those small goals that you can progress towards maybe a larger goal. And I would suggest maybe checking out our vertical jump videos and our vertical jump handbook as what we would suggest, because we think that that's obviously the best thing that we can recommend to you. But don't let that completely take over your effort to become a better basketball player. You need to spend um, a sufficient amount of time working on all of your other basketball skills that are much more important than just focusing on one specific thing. Because, like I said before, you want to be versatile. You want to have all the tools, not just one big tool. I mean, that's a great way to get yourself in trouble. So make sure that you are working on developing all of your skills, not just focusing on, oh, I need to be a great jumper, because you know, great jumpers, they might do well up certain levels of basketball, but you can't just be a one-trick pony. I mean, that's again a great way to work yourself off of a team that you wanted to make. Okay, next one. Well, here's Robert Stark again saying, "I broke my hand or left hand. Should I keep playing?" Yeah, obviously. If you love playing basketball, why would you stop? And a lot of times people, they get these injuries and they think that that's the end of the world, and what are they going to do from that point on? And the fact of the matter is that anybody that plays sports is going to get hurt. It doesn't matter if you play golf or you play badminton or you play whatever, bowling. You can get hurt doing any of those activities, and you just have to find a way to get past that stuff. Obviously, you need to take enough time to rest and recover and make sure that you are healthy. But, if you break your left hand or you break your right hand, work on developing the hand that isn't broken. So, I had a lot of friends that would, they break their right hand. Maybe not a lot, but a handful of people that I knew that had broke their right arm or their left hand or right hand or whatever, and they would work on developing their offhand. And suddenly, as soon as they got their cast off or whatever, then they had the ability to dribble and play, almost bringing their offhand up to the level of their strong hand, just because they spent the time to work on developing that while they were injured. And the same thing is true, like if you break your foot, you can still either stand there and dribble or sit in a chair and dribble. You can maybe work on your form shooting, and just stay on that one leg or whatever it is. There's so many things that you can do. Obviously, you have to address it to whatever your injury is. If you like have back surgery or you have something that's going to take you out of the game for a while, then that's cool. Just rest, recover, and come back, and know that you'll have the ability to work on your game as soon as you get back. It's really, injuries are a bummer, but it's not the end of the world. Let's see. Matt LP Games is saying, how to not choke. How can I not lose the basketball, and how do I ignore what other people say? Okay, a lot of those are kind of all different things. And then you also say, I don't lose the ball at practice, but I lose the ball when I'm in games with my friends. Okay, let's hit all of those real quick. How not to choke. That's that's one of those things where you have to develop your skills to the point to where you are confident in your skills being there when you are ready to execute them. So if you don't feel good about your shooting when you step out on the floor to play a basketball game, then obviously you're going to have a problem executing that. So you have to really develop your skills. Choking is all subjective too. I mean, sometimes people are going to miss shots. Sometimes people are going to fumble the ball. That's fine. That happens. But typically choking is like maybe where you panic and you make a bad decision, or you do something that is kind of out of character just because of the circumstances. And that's fine too. That happens to everybody. Even the best players occasionally have moments where they kind of just flub it, and that's okay. But it's how you react to that after the fact. Let it go. That is not a big deal. It's not something that should haunt you forever. But if you want to use it to motivate you to become better, then that's great. Do that. And then you also say here, how do I ignore what other people say? That's easy. Ignore what they say. It doesn't matter what anybody says to you. It should just not matter. Because people can say whatever they want, and it's really what you believe in yourself about who you are. So if somebody tells you that you suck, then you just say whatever. Who cares? Because you feel confident in yourself that you don't suck, and even if you aren't a great player, and you want to be better, then you know that you can work to become a better player, and that's what you're doing. If somebody tells you that you can't do something, maybe you can't, but you can also work on it. And so, who cares what anybody says? They can say whatever they want. Actions speak louder, for sure. And a lot of people get caught up in the trash talk and all that garbage. Trash talk is really just a person trying to psych you out. And if you let that get to you, then you've helped them accomplish their goal in that. So just let it go. What anybody says should not affect you. It doesn't matter if he's talking about your mom, if he's talking about your sister, or telling you how horrible you are or that you missed that last shot. Who cares? Here's another thing too. If somebody is talking trash to you, the best thing that you can do, and the thing that it drives them crazy, is that ignore them. Don't even acknowledge what they say. Don't feed into anything that they say, and just go out there and be cold-blooded in taking them apart with your game. That drives them insane. People flip out because they can't get to you. And so really try to, just not let that stuff affect you, because it doesn't matter. It does not matter. How can I not lose the basketball? Well, that's, again, your skill set. You have to have confidence in your skills. You have to put in the effort and work to build those skills. And that's really the bottom line. And then get experience doing it. And there's tons of ways to protect the basketball. I would say go check out our videos on offensive abilities and skills. I mean, we have a ton of playlists on that stuff. So go check out that and just start to develop those things, and you'll start to really be able to take care of the ball. How do I not lose the ball at practice, but I lose the ball I don't lose the ball at practice, but I lose the ball when I'm in a game? Okay, we have a video called Make in Practice, Miss in Game, and it applies to the same things as if you lose the ball in games, but not in practice. And that is that you probably are not practicing at game speed and game intensity. And so when you step out on the basketball court, it's like you haven't been there before. But if you practice at game speed, game intensity, it's like you're putting in the work to have that experience already, but without having to have it during a game. So it's like you've been on the floor with a defender in your face. You've been on the floor playing at the speed of an actual game. And it's not like you went from a casual shoot-around situation to a game where there's defenders and people rushing at you and things going on. So you have to really work at developing your game speed, game intensity work, whether it's shooting, ball handling, defense, whatever it is. You have to really work on game speed, game intensity. That's one of our 3 pillars of practice, is that. Okay, let's see. Roy's XD Face says, how aggressive should I be on offense when dribbling? Well, I mean, that's a subjective thing. My philosophy, and I know it's my dad's philosophy too, is that it doesn't matter whether you are playing offense or defense. You should always be the one in control, making the decisions on how somebody should react to you. So if you're the type of player that catches the ball and you sit there and you wait and you try to react to what the defense is doing, that's going to put you in a situation where you are playing catch up to them. And that's not where you want to be. What you want to do, excuse me, is you want to be the one that is making them react to you. So if you catch the ball, you immediately have a plan. And maybe you've read what that guy is doing. He's coming at you, and you either give him a jab step or you go immediately off the dribble. You are making him react to you, and you're not sitting there waiting for him to do something that you can react to. That helps you because he's a step behind already. It doesn't matter what he's doing. He's already behind and trying to play catch up. And that's not the position you want to be in when you're playing any type of sport, really, is playing catch up to whoever the other person is. So being aggressive um, to us is really doing things like being the first to make the move, forcing them to react to you. That's a huge part of it. And then also being able to take contact, but also finish and focus on the finish. So really, it really is about taking the initiative and being the one that forces them to react. I mean, that's kind of how I would address how aggressive you should be. Let's see here. Terrence says, "What if they're talking about my mama?" If they're talking about your mom, chances are they probably don't know your mom, and it really doesn't matter because whatever they say, it's just garbage. Who cares? Um, let's see, and they're just trying to get in your head anyways. And if you let it affect you, you've already pretty much just done exactly what they wanted you to do. Let's see here. Ilhan Bintez says how to shoot better. Well, I would say go check out our videos on YouTube on kind of shooting mechanics and how to develop your skills using these specific drills. And you really just have to put in the time to do it. And you have to take the effort to break everything down, work on it progressively, and build it up from these fundamentals. And do the 3 pillars of practice where you put in the diligent kind of dialing in using something like the form shooting drill. Then you do the second pillar, which is game speed, game intensity work, where maybe you add in a defender or you work on shooting off the pass or shooting off the dribble at the speed of a game. And then you get game experience, which is the third pillar, and that's really how you develop your shooting. It's kind of a comprehensive approach to make that happen. Let's see here. Arya K says, "I'm 14, 5'7", and really skinny. Everybody tells me to go to the gym, but I'm afraid of not growing anymore. What should I do?" Here's the thing. Okay, this is something that we talk about all the time because people are so worried about their physicality and their physical body when it comes to basketball. Because I mean, it's obvious that taller players are kind of the norm when you start looking up the levels of basketball, and that's fine. But people can get through at all heights. The shortest player in the NBA was 5'3". I bet most everybody listening to this right now is taller than that, and that person made it to the NBA, and that Muggsy Bogues. And there's been plenty of guys that were under 6 feet tall that made it into the NBA. But you have to be realistic about making it in the upper levels of basketball too. But the thing is that when you are shorter, that's fine because you have no control over that. And people are always worried about these elements of, I guess, their attributes that they have no control over. You have no control over how tall you will be. That is pretty much predetermined by your genetics. And obviously your nutrition will have some kind of an effect on that, and that's fine, but not very much. You are kind of already set in what your height is going to be. And if you look at your mom and dad, it's probably going to be somewhere in the height of both of their families. I mean, that's really the thing. So if your dad is 5'8", you probably will be somewhere around that tall, and that's fine. You have no control over it, so just don't worry about it. Shorter players will have probably abilities that some of the taller players don't have. Like they'll be more agile, they'll be quicker, they'll be faster. They'll be able to get to places maybe that person can't get to. That's a foot taller or whatever. So look at the advantage you get from being a certain height or a certain build. That's really how you should approach it. You shouldn't feel like a victim because you are a little bit shorter than some of the other players. Who cares? You have no control over it. Work with what you got. When it comes down to like being skinny and people telling you to go to the gym, don't listen to what anybody has to say about you and your body. You are fine the way you are, and people put too much emphasis into basketball players going out there and getting in the gym and trying to get jacked and all that stuff. Believe me, I did that, and the fact of the matter is that if you look at how much time you invest into doing something like that and how much time you invest into doing something like developing your skills, the big payoff comes in developing your skills. Because if I spend 2 hours in the gym every night lifting weights and I don't spend those 2 hours working on my shooting or my dribbling or whatever it is, that is not going to help me nearly as much as if I had taken those 2 hours and worked at the gym on developing my shooting or developing my free throw shooting or developing my attack off the dribble. Whatever it is, it just doesn't translate as the payoff. And people think that, gaining 10, 15 pounds of muscle is going to make all the difference. It really doesn't, because you can see players that make it all the way up to the top levels of basketball that, they can barely do a push-up. And they're so thin that it's, that all they get ragged on is the fact that they should get in the gym and all this stuff. Yet they can be dominant players. And you look at somebody like Kevin Durant, who is he's a very slender person, but he's obviously very athletic, and he's obviously has skills that supersede these perceived weaknesses and how, built he is and powerful he is. So, it's fine to maybe dabble in that stuff. I don't think it's the best when you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. As you get into the higher levels of basketball, like in college and obviously the professional level, then that becomes more of a factor, because, those are people that are genetically, it's kind of a freakish thing where they are genetically just built athletes, and they're tall and they're big and they're athletic. And, usually when you move up in the levels of basketball like that, they build in that time for you to be able to work on that kind of stuff. So there will be time when you're on a college team where they will have you in the gym, or working out with weights and stuff like that. But when you're a young person, you don't need to be doing that stuff. Spend your time working on your skill development. That is where it will pay off. It's not about adding 15 pounds of muscle. It really does not pay off as much as people think it does. And people don't like to hear that, but that's true. Let's see here. So Luca Kokic says, I'm 14, 5'7", 115 pounds. My skills are very polished. So in that situation, should I worry about the strength I have or continue working on my skills? You should always be working on your skills. That is not something that should ever stop. And you should always be pushing yourself to make yourself better, add in this new thing, be able to address this different look from the defense. Whatever it is, you are able to be able to keep developing that stuff, because it never stops. And even if you get your skills to a level where you think you're good, it's like, you are never going to reach a point where you've reached your potential. I mean, it's almost impossible, because the more time you devote to developing your skills, the better you will get at them. I mean, that's really the key. And you also are such a young person, 14 years old, and you're 115 pounds. That's common. That is not a big deal. So don't get caught up on that stuff. The payoff when it comes to investing in your development comes from the skills, not the weights. I mean, that's the truth. Let's see. Brother to the Moon says, how do I become comfortable with taking the left side of the hoop if I'm right-handed? You just got to do it. You got to work on it. You got to break it down. You got to work on the footwork and slow it way down to to a ridiculous level where it feels like, why am I doing it like this? Get the footwork in place, and as you master it at that speed, then kick it up, and you will be able to progress up to game speed, game intensity, and you just have to get the repetitions. People wonder, like, what is the secret to developing my left hand or my off hand or whatever? And it doesn't matter if you're talking about shooting, dribbling, whatever. It all comes down to getting the repetitions. And that offhand is typically just not as coordinated as your strong hand. And that's just, that just means that you need to work more on bringing it up to the level of your offhand. So you have to put more investment into that. And that's fine. You just got to do it. Let's see here. Harry Sherwood says, I'm making changes in my jump shot, but it's inconsistent, but has better mechanics than my old jump shot. Should I carry on and will it improve or stay with my old jump shot? Um, well, I think that typically we don't tell people to change their shooting during the season. So if you're playing on a team or something like that, it's probably not best to get too crazy with tinkering with your shooting mechanics. But if you feel like there is potential to be better using some different kind of mechanics, then you should probably start working on developing that. And the way that you do that is through getting these repetitions and dialing in your mechanics. And so it's going to be inconsistent at first. It's not like you can flip a switch and think, oh, well, I just made this adjustment. I should just be knocking it down every single time right away. That doesn't really happen. It's usually where you are working towards making your mechanics kind of closer to the fundamental set that you want to get. So you work on getting that in place, and you slow everything way down, and you do the first pillar practice, which is dialing everything in and making sure that you are executing those mechanics as efficiently and effectively as possible at that slow speed. And then you start to kind of build that up and get it up to regular shooting speed, get all the elements in place, and you'll probably start to see that things are getting more consistent as you do that. Using something like the form shooting drill, you will start to see that, starting close, you will start to see that your shooting will be very consistent. The mechanics will be consistent, and then obviously the payoff of having it go through the hoop will be consistent. And then you just start stepping that back, and you'll start to develop your range, and then you start working on your game speed, game intensity work, and you will find that I've innervated my muscles. My muscle memory is there for these new mechanics, and it will almost just kind of work for you. So you really have to par everything way back down, and just start from the ground up and build those fundamentals out. Let's see. Young Zelos is saying, I'm 6'6", 15 years old, and my coach is trying to make me a center when I can shoot. But if I do, he will bench me. What should I do? Well, that's kind of one of those situations that is, it can kind of be a bummer. But you have to realize that your coach is really the leader of the team, and he is going to have a grand scheme for how the team should work and how it should play out and how all the players should fit into that scheme. And if he thinks that you should be playing at center, I mean, that's, if you want to be on the team, then that's kind of where you got to be. That doesn't mean that you shut off your ability to play outside and you just focus on playing as a center. That just means that you are playing that role, and you just continue to have your abilities and work on your abilities. And typically, if a coach sees that you are effective doing that stuff, and maybe you get some time to do that in practice, or maybe he sees you working on that stuff before or after practice, and then maybe he'll realize, oh, this guy can go out there and he can shoot too. I'm going to put that to great effect. Or maybe you're a center and you kind of develop these post moves and stuff that will allow you to get to the basket, maybe get fouled, maybe you get to the free throw line and you're able to display the fact that you can hit those free throws, and you're a 6'6" center, and your coach is like, wow, that guy can actually shoot. Maybe we'll stretch out the defense a little bit and pull him away from the basket. Or you can develop your skills to be a post player that can get some face-up moves too. So maybe work on your face-up skills. It's not one of those things where you have too much to say that is going to sway your coach. You have to really make your abilities speak for yourself. And if you want to play, you got to kind of go along with the program. But like I said, don't let that focus you so that you only focus on being a center. I mean, if you go back and you talk to a lot of these guys that played in the NBA, a lot of them were taller guys as young people too, and they probably were stuck playing the center position, even though now they play the shooting guard or something like that, just because they were simply tall for the leagues that they were playing in as kids. But when you get up to the level of the NBA, suddenly 6'4", 6'5" is not very tall. So don't worry about it, man. I mean, just keep playing. And sometimes you can have talks with your coach and say, I'm definitely up for being the center on the team, but I would love to maybe be able to get some looks on the perimeter. I really can shoot, and I would love to be able to bring that to the team. And just go in there and just throw that out there. And if they're not into it, then don't worry about it. Yeah. Let's see. Terrence is saying, "I have big hands. Is this affecting my shooting? If so, how do I place my hands and stuff?" Okay. Common misconception is that bigger hands means that your shooting will be worse. That's so not true, and I think that was kind of perpetrated around like O'Neal's free throw shooting and stuff, and I guess Wilt Chamberlain and everything. But the fact of the matter is that bigger hands gives you more control over the basketball. You are able to manipulate the ball much easier with less tension and effort in your hands. Um, and so the bigger your hands are, I mean, it really should give you an advantage, if anything else. Typically, those people that struggle, that have the big hands, it's because they haven't put in the work or they don't have the right fundamentals. And watching somebody like Shaquille O'Neal, I could tell you exactly the problems that he was having with essentially just holding the basketball. And hold on a second, let me get the basketball. So one of the problems is that people, a lot of times, they'll take the ball and they'll have it up on their fingers like this. You don't have control of the ball like that. I mean, I could just knock the ball out easily like that. What you want to do when you're putting your hand on the basketball is make sure that you are getting it down on your finger pads. It's not on your palm. You should be able to do the one finger test right there, but it is on your finger pads, and you have your hands spread out so that, look, my thumb and my pinky are kind of opposing each other, and they're spread out, but I'm holding the ball on those pads, and it gives me much more control. Nobody's going to be able to knock it out. So it befits you to have bigger hands. So hopefully that will help you in placing your hands. So don't worry about your hands being affecting your shooting negatively. I would think that they would be helping you have a more positive effect. Irvin Lopez says, "How to not telegraph passes." That's something that you develop over time with more experience, but that's one of those things where having good court vision helps, having good peripheral vision helps. But just number one, not looking directly at somebody as you pass the ball. It's not like you want to be like, "Oh, here, catch the ball." You don't want to do that. When you pass the ball, a good rule of thumb is to just look away from where you're passing. Don't look at the guy when you're passing it to him. Telegraphing is typically done through the eyes. And so kind of work more on developing your ability to deliver the ball without looking directly at the person you're passing to. Let's see. Rebecca Vetter is saying, "I'm playing center and I feel I'm too slow to play anything else, but I don't want to be stuck on the same position. What can I do?" Okay, well, I mean, that's one of those situations, again, where your coach is kind of the person that's going to tell you where to play on that specific team. But that doesn't mean that you're stuck there on the team doing that for that team or for your life. That's a different situation. But if you want to develop your ability to play other positions, like we always say, work on developing yourself as an all-around basketball player, not just as a center or as a point guard. Have an approach that is more comprehensive. You should be able to shoot on the perimeter. You should be able to attack the basket. You should be able to step into the post and do some post moves. You should be able to rebound. You should be able to shoot free throws. No matter what your fatigue level is, you should be able to play defense and take charge. I mean, all these things, they all factor into making you a better basketball player. And that will really make it so that you can step into a more versatile role where you don't have to be the center on every team that you play. So I would say that if you are feeling a little too slow, you need to work on developing your athleticism. Do things like if you check out our vertical jump videos in the handbook, you'll see that there's drills in there that help you develop your athleticism, not just your vertical jump. Things like dot drills, things like jump rope, things like the ladder drills, working just on generating explosion and stuff. And also maybe go and check out Alan Stein's videos, because Alan Stein of Stronger Team Basketball, he has a ton of stuff that will help you develop that stuff as well. So go work on that stuff. If you find that you have a weakness in some area, then that is where you need to kind of focus yourself. You're not stuck in any position. Super O in one Super on 10 says, what do you think about weight training as a high school junior? Like I said before, weight training, it should be such a minor element of your development that I think it's not even really worth your time as a person that's not playing higher level basketball. So if you're not playing on maybe a high powered high school varsity team as like a junior or senior, or if you're not playing on a college team, you should not really be working too much on that stuff. Work more on developing your athleticism, your conditioning, and on your skill development. Your skill development is going to be the biggest part of how far you go in basketball. You could be the biggest jacked, strong dude on the court, and if you can't shoot the ball, if you can't dribble the ball, if you can't pass the ball, if you can't play defense, if you can't make your free throws, then you will not be able to use those skills to take you anywhere. Um, so that pays off more. When it comes down to your conditioning, that's your ability to play through fatigue and not get fatigued as fast. And so that is super important. And your athleticism is your running, jumping, your functional ability to play basketball. So those are way more important than spending time in the weight room. Like I said before, if you spend 2 hours in the weight room or 2 hours working on your game in the gym, what do you think is going to pay off more? The investment into weight training is it's it's uh, it's a big investment, and I just don't think the payoff is there when your directive is to become a better basketball player. Um, let's see. Ed Venus Tenekatis says, "Is it normal that my shot feels different every day?" That shouldn't really be the case. Maybe you need to work more on just developing your consistency, um, and making sure that you have the mechanics in place that you want to have in place. Um, so I would really kind of work on developing your consistency. Maybe work on the form shooting drill. The form shooting drill will help you kind of dial all that stuff in. Um, so yeah, that would be my advice on that. Work on the form shooting drill and kind of getting all of your mechanics kind of dialed in. Let's see. Dakari Wood says, "What if my coach tells me to shoot different, even if I'm not comfortable that way?" That's tough. And it's hard to give people advice on that because you have to listen to your coach because you're playing on their team. But the thing is you can say something like you have to kind of appease them a little bit, where you could say something like, "Okay, that sounds great. I'll give it a shot." Um, and really kind of you are going to know what is probably best for you in terms of developing your mechanics. I mean, it's good to listen to other people. Like maybe they will have a good suggestion for you. But you don't want to shut it down and say like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't know. That doesn't sound right. But you can say, oh, that sounds great. Maybe I'll give that a shot. And then, maybe you will, maybe you won't. But you have to be kind of neutral about it when you're talking to your coach because they are kind of there to be the leader. So that's tough. We're going to take a couple more questions and we're out of here. Um, Louis Martin says forest or beef. All of those things are goofy. They're just little acronyms to try to keep people to hit these fundamental things. I think that they're not necessary and they're just more branding than anything. Uh, the real the real key to that stuff is knowing the mechanics that you need, knowing why you need them, and then making your shooting as efficient as possible. And you know, people are going to make up these acronyms and have these kind of branding elements that they put in there, and they're all the same. They're all goofy. Don't worry about it. Know what the fundamentals are, and know why you need to have them in place. Um, Man, there's a lot of questions. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to many more. Um, let's see. Max Guapo says, "What is the best way to improve defense?" Best way to improve defense is to get experience playing it. And just like any skill in basketball, you have to get down the footwork, which is the most important part of pretty much anything you do athletically. Doesn't matter if you're playing football, if you're playing soccer, if you're playing baseball, whatever. Footwork is extremely important. And so go check out our video called Defense 101, and we kind of talk about the footwork and how you develop that step drag footwork with your feet, and that'll help you keep in front of people and be able to cut them off and beat them to the spot, and then get experience doing that. And you have to start slow and build up to game speed. Elliot Alvarez, how to get hops. Go check out our vertical jump videos and the vertical jump handbook. Chris Uby says, I got small hands and have trouble shooting. You know what? We work with people that have extremely small hands. Some of them are these very young girls that are 7 or 8 years old. We don't always have them use, regulation women's size balls or whatever, but it shouldn't really matter. If you have the ability to hold the ball like this, you are in kind of the shape that you need to be able to shoot the basketball. Nobody's asking you to palm the basketball to shoot it. You should be able to spread your hand out wide enough so that you can control it. I mean, it's not something where you have to have these giant hands. And obviously, you're going to have your assist hand that comes up to the side, but it falls away as you extend up on your shooting. So small hands, small hands, big hands, people make up excuses for everything. It's not something that you need to worry about. Get your shooting, get your set point in the right place, and I think you will be in the best spot. MSG is asking how to get outside of your own head. You got to make a mental choice to do that. It's tough, but you have to kind of tell yourself, okay, this is the way things are going to be, and start to work progressively towards eliminating living inside your own head on that kind of stuff. How to make all layups. Go check our video called Layups 101. And we have several videos on layups that you should check out. I'm going to take 2 more questions. Let's see here. Edward Batilica is saying, I was playing position 4 and now I play position 2 and 3. I feel a bit weird. How can I become familiar with that? Experience. You just got to do it. It's obviously you're playing somewhere different and it's going to be a little bit awkward at first, but you got to kind of get your feet under yourself and stop being critical, stop worrying about it, and just do it. Let's see. Kragel says, do you know professional players with the disease associated with breathing? Yeah, I mean, there's tons of guys out there that have asthma. And maybe they have an inhaler, or they have some special regimen that they have, or they've worked very hard on the conditioning. There's people with all kinds of limitations or disabilities or whatever, but that's fine. Last one I'm going to do today is, let's see. Got to try to make it good, right? Let's see here. God, so many questions. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm going to try to do these. Let's see here. Okay, this one is from Alpha J, who says, what do you do as a point guard when your team doesn't run the play assigned? Well, that's tough. One of the things that is not good and not positive is to freak out, is to belittle and berate your teammates, because that just kind of shows them that you're not a positive leader. And being a point guard, that's really kind of a leadership role. And if you're the guy that is just being demonstrative and telling them how terrible they are, or that they're doing things wrong, or whatever it is, that's not a place that you want to be. So, one of the things is that you can, address that with your coach. I mean, that's really your coach's problem, because if he's calling plays and they aren't running them, then that's something that he needs to address. That's not really something that you have much control over. If you're setting it up and then they just suddenly do whatever they're going to do, then that's not really something that you had control over. So don't try to micromanage that. That's the coach's problem.
And like I said, don't freak out on your teammates because that'll turn them against you, and you don't want that at all. Um, but like I said before, when we were talking about kind of these qualities that make you a better player that you can kind of just switch on, being a leader, setting an example, um, and just being a positive source of energy will make people kind of be more onto your program. So that's kind of where you need to be. Um, Hopefully that kind of helps. Let's see here. Okay, well, I think that's going to be it, you guys. If I didn't get to your question, I'm sorry. It's not that I don't like you. It's that I just ran out of time. But see us next week, and maybe we'll hit you guys back again on our next live show. We're usually here 1 p.m. Pacific time on Sundays, and we try to answer everybody's questions. If you want your question answered during the week, just hit us up on all of our social media stuff. We have, Twitter. We have Google Plus, we have Facebook, we have obviously YouTube. So make sure you subscribe and follow us on all that stuff. We're on Instagram, we're on Snapchat, we are all over the place. And on all of those things, we are Shot Science. So if you want to find us, just look up Shot Science and make sure you follow us there, ask us your questions, and we'll do our best to get back to you guys. And we're doing cool stuff on all those places too. So check that back. And hopefully, Coach Tom will be back next week, and we'll have the Double Trouble lineup for the live show. But thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you for your questions. Please go out and tell everybody about Shot Science, and I'll see you next time. All right. See ya.